Sharing local values with the international community is truly in the spirit of the heritage of humankind under UNESCO's World Heritage Convention. In this regard, I also have the pleasure today to inform you that at the request of the World Heritage Committee, UNESCO is preparing now an international recommendation on sustainable tourism, with the first expert meeting being held tomorrow at UNESCO's headquarters in Paris. Landscape heritage is a dynamic resource. We need to better understand the character and value of these places, but also their resilience over centuries and providing enormous services in difficult times of conflict and under harsh conditions. This is the more important with extreme weather events, global warming and other changes. There are also huge opportunities with carbon sequestration with our forests and landscapes. Moreover, our landscapes are the source of memory, telling a story of continuous evolution of societies and their knowledge. UNESCO has today an excellent cooperation with the European Landscape Convention, the so-called 2000 Florence Convention. UNESCO has also been approached to prepare a recommendation on the conservation of the historic urban landscape, which will be presented to UNESCO's General Conference in due course. We also have been asked to consider a potential global landscape convention, but such a reflection is in the first steps only. These initiatives may complement the comprehensive system of international legal instruments in the field of culture hosted by UNESCO, and in particular, the World Heritage Convention, the 2003 Convention on the Safeguarding of the Intangible Heritage, and I think you have seen yesterday in the press the food heritage which has been recognized at the Nairobi conference, and the 2005 Convention on the protection and promotion of the diversity of cultural expressions, to name the three most important instruments for this conference. In an increasing interdependent and globalized world which uses bold economic terms, I think we have to be more explicit about valuing our heritage and putting a price tag on it and its services instead of taking it for granted. Finally, I would like to highlight that the recent Millennium Summit in September 2010 in New York clearly recognized culture as a driver for development and the achievements of the 8 Millennium Development Goals. The role culture plays in achieving the Millennium Development Goals was acknowledged for the first time. A clear shift in perspective and a new focus for the survival of our priceless heritage of humankind and its transmission to generations to come. I would like to thank the organizers of this event for such a challenging conference and wish us all a great exchange and dialogue and more support and commitment from all levels of governance. Thank you very much for your attention.
Ringrazio dottoressa Rosler, è molto interessante l'indicazione che ha fatto sui luoghi della cultura come valore per la qualità della vita e come valore economico, e soprattutto questa citazione che ha fatto ultima di riconoscimento mondiale della cultura come motore dello sviluppo. Abbiamo adesso un video molto importante, un contributo, un messaggio del principe Carlo del Galles. Penso che...
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry not to be able to join you for this international forum organized by Florence 2010 and the European House Ambrosetti for what I am sure will be a most useful inquiry into the role of heritage in our modern age. Today we share what appears to be a highly sophisticated world of technological advance, rapid communication and global mobility. However, our speed of travel and ever quicker forms of information exchange bring into sharp focus, for me, the incalculable value of the traditional and the familiar, those expressions of identity which fulfill our deep human need for cultural roots. During the technological advances of the 20th century, a universal thirst for cultural reference points, saw rich historic places like Florence flourish and renew themselves with the arrival of unprecedented numbers of visitors from all over the world, searching for qualities often lacking in their environment back home. Today, the most beautiful cities in the world have become, to a degree, victims of their own attractiveness, as tourists vie with local people for space in their charming, if inconveniently narrow, streets and squares. This is perhaps not the occasion to debate the merits of contemporary architecture and planning, you will be relieved to hear, but it is surely a forum in which the value of our global heritage capital, both economic and social, can be confidently reasserted. Florence, for me, displays a symbiotic relationship of city and landscape that is a microcosm of that between mankind and nature. Whatever technological advances are harnessed in the promotion of cultural heritage, I can only urge you to bear in mind the principles enshrined in the places and landscapes themselves. For what it is worth, these are at the heart of my own philosophy on the built environment, and there are 5 core ideas which I suggest may form the starting point of a discussion. First of all, the recognition that sustainability means building for the long term, 100 years rather than 20 years. Secondly, because of this, building should not be technologically led, but adaptable and flexible, reassessing and reusing existing buildings wherever possible. Thirdly, building in a manner that fits the place in terms of materials used, proportions, plan layouts, ecological priorities, and building practices. Fourthly, building beautifully, in a manner that builds upon tradition, evolving it in response to present challenges, while utilizing present-day resources and techniques. And finally, understanding the purpose of a building or group of buildings within the hierarchy of the buildings around it, and responding with an appropriate building type and design. Doing this often implies composition of an harmonious whole, as evidenced in Florence's celebrated townscapes, rather than the erection of singular objects of architectural or corporate will. Now, it may be that most of you would agree that local distinctiveness should flourish and traditional craft skills be rediscovered and incorporated in new buildings as well as old. That true and timeless methods of building are exploited not only for the beauty they create, but also the environmental benefits they offer. This, as far as I'm concerned, is the best way of ensuring both the continued survival and prosperity of the heritage we have, as well as promoting wider economic and social gains. Yet, this fine-grained and incremental approach to growth, one which seeks to value individuals over corporations and traditional skills over production line operations, is not fashionable and requires a firm political will if it is to succeed. After 2 or 3 cycles of experimentation with untried theories of urban planning and design, perhaps, ladies and gentlemen, it is time that we reconsider the outmoded ideas of the early 60s and embark on an approach which stresses continuity and evolution, accepting the best of the past and evolving it to take on appropriate contemporary technologies and techniques. As the modernist interventions that have wreaked havoc on our historic centres reach the end of their useful life, the opportunity now emerges to replace them with an enduring framework based upon the principles I've outlined for more human-scale buildings that can adapt flexibly to change while respecting both traditional patterns and the historic legacy. A design and planning framework that respects tradition can restore the basic circulatory system that gives life to our cities, creating amenity and opportunity for inhabitants and visitors, and contributing to the fundamental framework of buildings, public spaces and roads that allows Florence, in common with other ancient places, to adapt and thrive. I pray, therefore, that your deliberations in this forum may help to lead others along this path.
Ringrazio, mi sembra un contributo importante anche perché recupera quest'idea di evoluzione nella continuità, cioè di recupero di ciò che è tradizione familiare, di ciò che è radice culturale, quindi inutile, l'avete ascoltato tutti, la sostenibilità, la flessibilità, l'adattabilità, di costruire bene bello e l'armonia. Penso che questa sia una premessa utile per ascoltare l'intervento di Davide Rampello, che è il direttore artistico di Florence 2000 e che ha come tema proprio quello della valorizzazione come reinterpretazione. Quindi lo ascoltiamo.